In optical receiver operation, we will have the introduction to how the optical receiver section is constructed and some of the fundamental receiver operations, and along with the noise sources or the error sources uh, that are arising in the optical receiver section. Then topics such as receiver sensitivity and quantum limit. Okay, so these are the topics which will be covered under optical receiver operation. First one is introduction to receiver section, then types of noise or error sources that arises in the optical receiver section, then receiver sensitivity and quantum limit, and a problem related to quantum limit. Okay, so for your syllabus you don't have the eye diagrams, then coherent detection, analog receivers, all those these topics are not there for the current syllabus. So only optical receiver operation, I mean the block diagram of that, types of noise or error sources, receiver sensitivity and quantum limit. So only these four topics will be covered in optical receiver section. Okay, so coming to the introduction, uh, uh, having a brief understanding about photo detectors. Photo detectors are nothing but optical active devices which will be converting light into electrical signal. Okay, so it is going to work opposite to that of your uh, optical sources such as laser and LEDs. So laser and LEDs require electrical signal as an input, and they are going to produce light as an optical output. Okay, so whereas photo detectors, they are usually used at the receiver section, and your optical sources laser and LED, they are used at the transmitter section. Okay, so these photo detectors will take light as an input. Light is nothing but photons, and they will be converting, these photo detectors will be converting these photons into electrons. That is, photon to electron conversion happens uh, at the output of the photodetector. Okay, input to photodetector is light, output of the photodetector is electrical signal. Okay, uh, because while sending the information at the transmitter side, the original information was usually in the electrical form. Okay, so any information is converted into electrical form, and that electrical signal is passed on to your laser or LED source. Those sources were converting your electrical information into optical information, and that optical information is transmitted for certain distance using the optical fiber. Then at the receiver, we need to get back the electrical signal only as the original information. So that is the reason why we use photo detector at the receiver, which will convert your light into electrical signal, and that original electrical signal is being used for processing, signal processing. Okay, so optical receiver, it is not just the photo detector, it's a combination of photo detector and amplifier and signal processing circuit. So these three blocks will constitute your optical receiver section. Okay, so the task of the optical receiver section is to convert the optical energy that is emerging from the uh, one end of the fiber, that is the receiver end of the fiber, into electrical signal. After the signal has been converted into electrical form, because it has traveled so many distance of say thousands of kilometers, the signal will be weak in nature. So we need to amplify the signal, so using an electrical amplifier. So don't get confused here. The amplifier which is being used in the receiver section is of electrical amplifier, not the optical amplifier, because this the input to the amplifier in the receiver section is electrical signal. So we need electrical amplifier to amplify this signal which has already been converted from photons to electrons, that is light to electrical form. So this amplifier is going to amplify the electrical signal to an extent or to a level that so that it can be processed by the further electronic blocks such as signal processing circuitry. Okay, in the receiver section of the optical receiver section. Okay. So, because we have certain blocks such as electrical amplifiers, then signal processing block, and many other blocks at the receiver section, each of those blocks are going to introduce certain noises. Okay, so these noises are going to arise from the amplifier and from other signal processing circuits. So one has to understand the nature of these noise sources also. So that will be covered under types of error sources or noise sources that are going to arise at the optical receiver section, right? So, in order to design this receiver block, it is desirable to predict the performance of the receiver section based on the mathematical models of the various receiver stages. So one has to develop a mathematical model in order to build or construct an optical receiver section based on the performance of the optical receiver section. Okay, so before we actually start constructing the optical receiver block, one has to establish a mathematical model of the same. So this model must take into account of various parameters such as noise and distortions that are added to the signal by the components such as photodetectors, amplifiers, then there is resistors which are being used. Okay, at each stage one has to take into account of these noises and distortions that are getting added into the original or information signal. Okay, and these models must also allow the designer uh, which components to choose, so that means these models, mathematical models, it must allow the designers in choosing the appropriate components so that the desired performance criteria is being met at the receiver section. Okay, so this mathematical model which we are going to develop before we actually construct an actual optical receiver, it must support two things. One is it must take into account of the noises and the distortions that are added into the signal by various components or the blocks that comes under the optical receiver section at each stage. And it must also allow the designer in selecting appropriate components so that the desired performance criteria is being met at the receiver side. Okay, so let me understand the fundamental receiver operation here with the help of this flow diagram. So what this flow diagram says is it starts from the transmitter and through the communication channel, and it also covers the receiver. So this entire flow diagram or the signal path, we can call it as flow diagram or signal path through the optical data link. So you can just go through here in the block diagram or the signal path diagram. The original information signal, as I was telling, it will be in the electrical form. So for simplicity, we are considering the digital form of the input signal. So you can see electrical input pulses, which are in the form of a digital pulses, and the with a constant period called as T suffix B. TB represents the pulse period. Okay, or the pulse width of each digital uh, signal, right? So this electrical signal is passed on to the laser or LED that is at the transmitter side. They act as a optical sources, and output of that will be the optical power pulses. So input to the laser or LED will be electrical input pulses. Output of laser or LED will be optical pulses. They will also be of digital pulses of pulse width TB. Okay, and this optical power pulses are passed on to your communication channel, that is the optical fiber which we are considering here. Okay, so optical fiber acts as a communication channel. As the signal propagates, that is the optical pulse signals are going to propagate inside the fiber, they get attenuated and distorted, and you can see the shape of the attenuated and distorted optical powers here, optical power pulses. Okay, so this was the original shape of the optical power pulse before it is being passed on to the communication channel. And after propagating certain distance inside the optical fiber, this will be the shape of the optical pulses. They get attenuated and distorted. Okay, and that attenuated and distorted optical power pulses are then applied onto the photodiode. That is, we have two types of photodiodes, that PIN, that is spin photodiode, or avalanche photodiode. Okay, so these attenuated optical pulses are being converted into attenuated electrical current pulses which consists of photodetector noise, because photodetector is also one of the active device. It is going to introduce its own noise. Okay, so whatever the output that comes out of the photodetector will be of the electrical current pulse form, along with the attenuated and distorted shape of the pulses. And also photodetector noise is being added into this electrical signal. Okay, so we have the electrical form of the pulses, which is distorted and added with the photodetector noise. So this signal is passed on to the amplifier or a filter. This is electrical amplifier or a filter, which will enhance the signal strength. You can see the signal strength is being enhanced. That is, the amplitude of the signals are increased, and we get the voltage pulses along with the amplifier noise. Okay, so here the output of the photodetector, it will introduce photodetector noise, and output of the amplifier, which is an enhanced signal in the electrical form, and amplifier is going to introduce its own noise called as amplifier noise. Okay, so these are some of the noise sources which will be taking up later. Okay, so this voltage pulses along with the photodetector and amplifier noise is been fed on to the next electrical block, that is decision circuit and pulse regenerator. So this decision circuit and pulse regenerator is going to have some certain threshold which is being defined through a mathematical model before we actually construct the block. Certain mathematical model is being used in order to fix the threshold of the decision circuit and pulse regenerator, out of after which the output will be in the form of a digital pulse without any distortion, because the decision circuit is going to take a decision based on the mathematical model that has been developed and that has been used in order to construct this decision circuit. Okay, so the output of that decision circuit and pulse regenerator is going to produce almost original information, that is electrical original information in the electrical form that has been applied into your laser or LED source. Okay, so regenerated output voltage pulses in the electrical form can be obtained out of the decision circuit and pulse regenerator, and that has been applied to the signal processing equipment. And signal processing equipment will understand the information that has been received by the signal processing block. Okay, so this signal processing equipment is used for processing the received information in the electrical form. Okay, so this is the flow or the signal path which one can understand through an optical data link. So starting from the electrical input to regenerated output voltage pulses. Okay, so here in the receiver section, we will be concentrating more on these four blocks: pin or avalanche photodiode block, amplifier and filter block, decision circuit and pulse regenerator. And signal processing equipment is just used to process the received information signal. That's all. Okay, so we will be concentrating more on this three blocks, such as photodiode, amplifier, as well as decision circuit. These three blocks will be considered, right? So you can just go with this simple technique of sending the binary data. Okay, so you have a binary or the digital information in terms of bit streams, and that is being modulated by your carrier. You can see you have a carrier and you have a bit stream. So this is one of the basic method of modulating your digital signal using amplitude shift keying, ASK. Okay, so I think you can understand this waveforms. First is your bit stream, that is the information in terms of binary ones and zeros. The second waveform indicates the carrier, which carries your digital information. And third one is the amplitude shift keying. So after modulation, this is how the shape of the uh, modulated signal looks like. Okay, so this is one of the modulation technique that can be used in order to transmit your binary or digital information through optical receivers. I mean optical communication block or optical link. So now you can see the actual block diagram of the optical receiver. which consists of basic sections such as photodiode, which will receive photons as the input and convert uh, into an equivalent electrical signal. After which we have a front-end amplifier. As I was mentioning, amplifier is used to enhance the signal strength. The electrical signal strength needs to be enhanced because uh, the the signal has traveled certain kilometers in terms of thousands or 5,000 kilometer distance. So it has lost its strength and it is also degraded. So in order to enhance the signal strength, we will use this front end amplifier. Okay. So after the front end amplifier, we have used a filter and equalizer in order to remove the unwanted noises and other distorted component of your information that is being extracted by the detector. Okay. So filter and equalizer is going to filter out the unwanted signal and extract only the original or required information signal, and sampling circuit is going to fix this what you call it as time slot centers. So you can see the time slot centers which are being used here. So these time slot centers has to be fixed appropriately so that one can receive the actual original information that is being transmitted. So you can see the arrow marks indicates the time slots. Okay. So this sampling circuit is going to fix the time slot as it is transmitted at the transmitter side at the receiver. Okay. That's the functioning of sampling circuit. And decision circuit, as I was telling, decision circuit is used to take a decision based on certain mathematical model that is being defined, and that mathematical model is going to fix a threshold. Based on the threshold, it is going to distinguish the pulses as logic 0 pulse or logic 1 pulse. Okay. So this is the block diagram of our optical receiver section. So this is the signal flow path. Don't get confused with this. This is the signal flow path through an optical data link starting from uh, transmitter to the receiver. Okay. But actual block diagram of the receiver optical receiver section is this, which consists of a photodiode, front-end amplifier, filter or equalizer, along with the clock recovery block, and sampling circuit in order to fix the time slots, decision circuit in order to distinguish between uh, logic 0 and logic 1 pulse. Fine. So you can just go through whatever I have explained. It is written in form of a statement here. So pin or avalanche photodiode, it produces an electrical current which is proportional to the received power level. And this electrical current is typically weak in nature because it has traveled so much of distance. And the front end amplifier will boost the signal, boost the weak signal to a level that can be used for the further blocks that are placed in front of the front end amplifier. Okay. So we have a filter here. So specifically, a low pass filter is used in order to reduce the noise and remove the unwanted signal, so that uh, the noise is outside the signal bandwidth. So that is the function of the low pass filter, which is used to reduce the noise, and the bandwidth of that is outside the signal bandwidth. In order to uh, remove the noise which is coming along with the information signal, we are going to use this low pass filter, right? So in order to minimize the effects of intersymbol interference, as we were discussing in module 2, whenever the pulses starts overlapping, they become indistinguishable pulses. So uh, because of the dispersive property of the fiber. Okay. So once the pulses become indistinguishable, we have a concept called as intersymbol interference. Interference is going to arise in the signal. Okay, because they are overlapping. So in order to minimize this intersymbol interference, the filter what we have used in the block, it can reshape the pulses that have become distorted as they travel throughout the fiber length. Okay. So finally, the decision circuit, it samples the signals to a level at the midpoint of each time slot. So I told sample circuit is going to fix the time slot which is appropriate that of the original signal time slot. Okay, and the decision circuit, it is going to sample the signal level at a midpoint of each time slot, and it compares it with a certain reference voltage. So comparing with certain reference voltage is what it is nothing but you're fixing the threshold. Okay, so certain reference threshold known as threshold level. So that is the function of the decision circuit. So that's about the receiver block diagram. Just go through the block diagram. We have five blocks: photodetector, front-end amplifier, filter and equalizer, sampling circuit, and decision circuit. The output of decision circuit will uh, be the electrical signal, which is equivalent to that of the transmitted electrical signal at the transmitter side. So now we will go through the next topic, that is types of or various error sources, or we also call it as noise sources. Okay. So you can see here we have a photon stream, uh, photon detection quantum noise. Okay, that is first type of noise that is contributed by your photodetector. Photodetector is going to contribute a noise called as photon detection quantum noise, or it is also called as photodetector quantum noise. Okay, and we have a resistor which is being connected between the photodetector and the amplifier. Resistor is going to act as a bias resistor here, and it is going to introduce a noise called as thermal noise. Okay, so we have thermal noise, we have quantum noise, photodetector quantum noise, and amplifier is going to introduce its own noise called as amplifier noise. We have surface leakage current, bulk dark current. All those things are going to contribute to noise sources. Okay. So these noise sources, they can be external to your system, or they can be internal to the system. So internal to the systems are nothing but your photodetector noise and amplifier noise. External to the system are thermal noise, surface leakage current noise, bulk dark current noises. Okay. So those are some of the external noises that are being introduced. Spontaneous fluctuations is also being introduced here at the receiver section. You can see spontaneous fluctuations in the signals are because of two types of noises, such as thermal noise. Thermal noise is introduced by your bias register, and this thermal noise arises because of the random movement of the electrons in a conductor. Okay, so because of the random nature of the movement of the electrons in a conductor, we'll introduce a noise called as thermal noise. And one more type of noise due to the spontaneous fluctuation is short noise. So short noise arises in the electronic devices because of the discrete nature of the current flow in the device. Okay, so since the current flow is not continuous, if and instead it is a discrete, the current flow inside these electronic devices are discrete in nature, because of which it introduces a noise, or these electronic devices are going to introduce a noise called as short noise. Okay, so short noise together with the thermal noise will contribute to the spontaneous fluctuation in your information signal. So let me take up this mathematical modeling. So as I was mentioning, before we actually construct your receiver block by selecting the appropriate components or the devices, one has to come up with a appropriate mathematical model. Okay. So mathematical model means in terms of mathematical equations, right? So let me start with this first equation. If the detector is illuminated by an optical signal of power P of t, detector in the sense here it is a photodetector. If the photodetector is illuminated by an optical signal P of t, then the average number of electron hole pairs, that is represented by n bar, average number of electron hole pairs that are generated at the time tau is given by n bar is equal to eta. Eta is nothing but the photodetector quantum efficiency divided by h nu. H nu is nothing but the photon energy into integral of 0 to tau. 0 to tau means for that time duration. Okay, for a given time duration, how many number of average photon electron pairs are being generated. Okay, so it depends on integral of 0 to tau p of t dt. Okay, so if you integrate this, if you apply the integration for this p of t dt, will be giving will be coming up with an equation called as, I mean, the term called as E. E is nothing but the energy received at time interval tau. So integral of power is nothing but energy. Okay, if you have understood the basic integration with respect to power, integral of power will give you an energy that is represented here as capital E. Okay, so what we have end up in equation called as eta into capital E divided by h nu. Eta is the quantum efficiency of the photodetector. E is the energy received by the photodetector at time interval tau divided by the photon energy, that is h nu. Okay, so these electron hole pairs are being generated whenever the photodetector is being illuminated by your light source, I mean light signal. Okay. So how many such number of electron hole pairs are generated on an average is defined by this expression: n bar is equal to n eta into E divided by h nu. Okay. Next, so the actual number of electron hole pairs is given by small n. Capital N bar is nothing but the average value of the electron hole pairs, whereas the actual number of electron hole pairs is represented by small n that are generated fluctuates from the average electron hole pairs according to a distribution called as Poisson distribution. Okay, so there is a difference between the actual number of electron hole pairs and the average number of electron hole pairs that are being generated. So, and that difference is given by this Poisson distribution formula, which is defined as PR of n. PR of n is nothing but the probability that the actual number of electrons are emitted at an interval tau. Okay, so PR of n is the probability that the actual number of electrons are emitted at an interval tau, which is equal to n bar to the power of n. N bar is nothing but the average number of electrons to the power of actual number of electron hole pairs. N bar is the average number of electron hole pairs, small n is the actual number of electron hole pairs, into exponential of minus n bar divided by n factorial. So according to the Poisson distribution, so you don't have any derivation for this one. Only you need to use this probability expression for uh, the probability, in order to find out the probability that n number of electrons are emitted at an interval tau. Fine. But actually speaking, this expression is going to give you only the probability that the number of electrons are emitted, but it is not possible, or it is highly complicated to predict the exact number of electron hole pairs that are being generated for a given or a known optical power that is incident on the photodetector. Okay, right? So only the probability of the average number of probability of the uh, electron hole pairs can be predicted, but actual number cannot be predicted using this Poisson distribution, right? So coming to next topic, I think I've not mentioned this uh, front-end amplifier design. Okay, so I just mentioned what is an amplifier, and as you have seen in the block diagram, after the photodetector, we have a block called as front-end amplifier. So front-end amplifiers are of two types. So a low noise front-end amplifier is designed in order to achieve maximum receiver sensitivity. Okay, so based on the maximum receiver sensitivity, we have two types of front-end amplifiers which are used, and they have classified as high impedance amplifier and trans impedance amplifiers. Okay, these are the two types of front-end amplifiers. So these low noise front-end amplifiers are basically used or designed in order to achieve maximum receiver sensitivity. So once the maximum receiver sensitivity is achieved, it is nothing but we are maintaining a suitable bandwidth. By maintaining a suitable bandwidth, we can achieve this maximum receiver sensitivity. Okay. So two types of front-end amplifiers are high impedance and trans-impedance amplifiers. So you can see the construction. They are simple in construction where the photodetector or a photodiode is in parallel with your load resistance and capacitance. Okay, so we have a load resistance and a capacitance in parallel, and out of after which we are going to use a general amplifier block here, and output of that will be the amplified signal. Okay, so this is the construction of a high impedance amplifier where there is no feedback for this amplifier. Okay, so in high impedance amplifier, a load resistance is connected in parallel so that the photodetector noise is being suppressed. Okay, so photodetector is going to offer its own resistance called as RP, and we have RP which is in parallel with load resistance RL. So because we have connected a load resistance, the photodetector noise is being suppressed to a certain extent. But this high impedance amplifier is going to offer low noise, but the bandwidth is also uh, being reduced. Okay, a high resistance result in a low noise, but also it gives a low receiver bandwidth. So that is the drawback of your or a trade-off between the noise and the receiver bandwidth. So high impedance amplifier is going to offer you a low noise, or noise is being suppressed, but at the same time the receiver bandwidth is also being suppressed. In coming to the transimpedance amplifier, you can see we are, after the photodetector or photodiode, we have a capacitor, and you can see the load resistance in parallel. I mean, in the feedback path, load resistance is acting as a feedback resistance to the amplifier section. Okay, so this is a construction of a transimpedance amplifier where a feedback resistance is used from the output to the input of the amplifier. Okay, so in this case, RL is going to act as a negative feedback resistor. Uh, Around an inverting amplifier. Okay, so I think you can understand what is the meaning of inverting amplifier. So for an inverting amplifier, a negative feedback resistance called as load resistance is being used. Okay, so this, because of this negative feedback resistance and the feedback path, the effective resistance seen at the photodiode by a factor of G is given as RP. RP is nothing but the effective resistance that is seen from the photodiode. That is from the photodiode. If you see what is the effective resistance, right to that photodiode is RP, which is equal to RL divided by G plus 1. G is nothing but the gain of the amplifier. Okay. So RP is nothing but RL divided by G plus 1 for a transimpedance amplifier, whereas RP is equal to RL in case of high impedance amplifier. So if you see towards the right of the photodiode, what is the resistance that is present? It is RL. So RP is equal to RL for high impedance, and RP is equal to RL divided by G plus 1 for a transimpedance amplifier. So this equation RP is equal to RL divided by G plus 1, uh, it, it means that the transimpedance uh, construction of an amplifier will increase the bandwidth by a factor of G plus 1. So bandwidth is being increased by a factor of G plus 1, but at the same time, the noise is not being suppressed in this transimpedance amplifier. So that is the trade-off with respect to noise and bandwidth. Bandwidth is improved in case of transimpedance amplifier by an amount or by a factor of G plus 1, but the noise is not suppressed as in the case of uh, high impedance amplifier. Okay. So that is a drawback of transimpedance amplifier. High impedance amplifier can suppress the noise, but at the same time, it will also reduce the bandwidth. Transimpedance amplifier will increase the bandwidth by a factor of G plus 1, but at the same time, the noise is not suppressed. That is, the photodetector quantum noise is not being suppressed by the transimpedance amplifier block. So coming to an important topic called as quantum limit. So let us understand what is this quantum limit. in designing an optical system, so it is useful to know what are the fundamental physical bounds that are there in order to decide the system performance. Okay. Suppose we have an ideal photodetector which has a unity quantum efficiency. So as I was mentioning, it was photodetector quantum efficiency. So let us consider an ideal photodetector which is having a quantum efficiency of equal to 1, that is unity quantum efficiency. And it is going to produce no dark current noise, and that dark current noise is nothing but no electron hole pairs are generated in the absence of optical pulse. Okay. So dark current is nothing but a current that is being generated in the absence of electron hole pairs. Okay, so that result in a kind of noise called as dark current noise, as we saw in the types of noise sources. Under types of noise sources, we can also see bulk dark current noise. So this bulk dark current noise is produced whenever an electron hole pair is being generated in the absence of an optical pulse. So here we are assuming that this photodetector is an ideal photodetector which has a unity gain, I mean unity quantum efficiency, and it is not producing any uh, electron hole pairs in the absence of optical pulse. That means to say there is no dark current noise. Okay, so considering these two cases of photodetector, that is quantum efficiency equal to 1 and no dark current noise, it is possible to find the minimum received optical power that is required for a specific bit error rate. So it's an important parameter which we need to understand, that is BER, bit error rate. So I'll repeat again. So given the condition that the optical detector or a photo detector is offering a unity quantum efficiency and no dark current noise, it is possible to find the minimum received optical power required for a specific bit error rate performance in a digital system. Okay. So this minimum required power level is known as quantum limit. Okay. So what is the minimum required optical power for achieving a particular or a specified bit error rate? So bit error rate is nothing but how many number of bits are uh, how many number of bits out of your total number of bits of your information signals are error prone. That is going to define your bit error rate. Okay, so usually bit error rate should be as minimum as possible. Ideally speaking, it should be in the range of 10 power minus 9 to 10 power minus 12. Okay, so 10 power minus 9, if I consider that, so for every 1 billion bits, there may be one bit which is error prone. Okay, so that is the meaning of bit error rate, right? So if I take bit error rate equal to 10 power minus 9, 10 power minus 9 is nothing but in terms of nano, it is 10 power minus 9 is nano. That means to say 1 billion bits, out of which only one bit is error prone. So that is the meaning of bit error rate. So the minimum required power level is known as quantum limit. Since all parameters are assumed ideal and the performance is limited only by the photodetector or photodiode on the statistics. So let us consider the same expression of what we have defined, the probability of electron hole pairs that are being generated using Poisson distribution. PR of n is equal to capital N bar to the power of n exponential of minus n bar divided by n factorial. Capital N is the average number of electron hole pairs. Small n is the actual number of electron hole pairs. Okay. So assuming that the optical power pulse of energy E falls on a photodetector at a time interval tau. So capital E is our energy, that is the optical pulse of energy capital E, which is falling on the photodetector at a given time interval of tau. Then it can be interpreted by the receiver that a zero pulse is being detected if there are no electron hole pairs are generated when the pulse is present. Okay, so assuming that a pulse, optical pulse, is illuminating the photodetector, and there are no electron hole pairs generated at that time instant when the pulse has illuminated the photodetector. So that is the meaning of a zero pulse which is being received. It's a zero pulse. As no electron hole pairs are generated when a optical pulse is illuminating the photodetector, that is assumed that a logic zero pulse is being received. Okay. So according to Poisson distribution, we had this probability equation. So probability that n is equal to 0, n is equal to 0 defines there are no electron hole pairs that are uh, emitted at the time interval tau, or no electrons are emitted or no electron hole pairs are generated. So when this situation happens, whenever a logic 0 pulse is being illuminating your optical detector, that is photo detector. So no electrons are emitted means it's a zero pulse. So what is that probability when n is equal to 0? uh, that is 0 electrons are emitted at a time interval tau is replace small n with 0. So then this probability expression is PR of 0 is equal to e power minus n bar. Okay, so where capital N bar is the average number of electron hole pairs, and the capital N bar equation we have defined as eta into E divided by h nu. So this is an important expression for a quantum limit, for defining the quantum limit. PR of 0 is equal to e power minus n. So for a given error probability PR of 0, so we can find the minimum energy that is required at a specific wavelength lambda. Okay. So PR of 0 is going to define the error probability when logic 0 pulse is being eliminating the photo detector. Okay. So we have a problem related to this quantum limit so that you can understand better.